So yesterday we started up with what is Agile and all. So we'll be discussing. Just give me a second, guys. So we are talking about like key aspects of the Agile methodology. So last class. Okay, we looked into the principles and we looked into few key aspects of it. But we'll be discussing again about like what are the key aspects of Agile methodology. So here you need to remember this, guys. This is very important key aspects that you have to remember. So in real time also, this will be used as part of our daily activities. So user stories, daily meeting, incremental development, iterative development, and milestone retrospective. Okay. So here user stories are like, kind of requirements. Okay. So all the requirements that we are going to treat it as like user stories, whatever requirement we are going to get. So those are kind of like user stories in the sense. So what exactly the requirement that user wants as part of the software development activities. Okay. So development are all the process. Okay. And in a daily meeting, so you can see the daily meetings are kind of like, communicating between the team members, and it's kind of like communication with the client also whenever it is required. So we'll be involving client also. So next is like team. This team is responsible for building this particular user story. Okay. So working on same project or putting all the efforts to achieve the goal. So this is kind of like, we are going to call it as like a team. So next is like incremental development. So Agile team prefer to use an incremental development strategy. So we're discussing about like incremental and iterative, right? So those things will be coming into the picture when we are talking about like Agile methodologies. So incremental approach is kind of like we are going to pick out few user stories and we are going to consider them as like a kind of a sprint here. Sprint, I'm just talking about like Agile and Scrum. Okay. So sprint is kind of like a time duration to complete that particular user story. So here we are going to take the approaches of incremental and iterative. So incremental process is like we are going to consider the requirements, piece of requirements out of the major requirement, and we are going to work on it. So it is like collaborative effort of all the team. So iterative development is like kind of we are getting the feedback, and so here what we do is like so Agile projects intentionally permits repeating software development activities and the potential for revisiting the same work products known as like iterative development. So here what they are doing is like kind of like they are going to pick up some process. So here process is like iterative. So incremental is like we are going to pick up the requirements and we are going to work on the requirements based on the increments. Okay. So like requirements using the incremental approach. Okay. So it's kind of like an approach that we are going to take. So in case of iterative, we are going to repeat the same process again and again. Okay. So we are going to repeat the same process so that we can achieve the milestone of it. So next is like retrospective. So in this case of retrospective, it's kind of like a meeting that we are going to have within the team to understand what we have done and what we have to do and what are the best practices that we have implemented during the process execution. And next is like what are the lessons learned from the previous cycle. Let us take like we are maintaining some cycle like SDLC cycle, right? In that cycle, we are going to talk about like what are the good things happen, what are the bad things happen, and what are the adjustments that we have to do, how do we do the estimation, and who are the heroes of that particular cycle. So these are the things that we are going to talk as part of like the process. Next is like how Agile does work. Okay, so how does this Agile work actually? So here we have few things that we need to discuss about it. Like all together we have like 8 points on it. So define the project. First we have to define the project. So here the team along with the customers define the project goals, objectives, and requirements. Okay. So first is like we need to define. This is nothing but scope of actual development. Okay. So we need to define the scope of actual development. So next is like creating the backlogs. So creating the backlogs in the sense, let us consider a shopping cart. Okay. So there is a shopping cart, and what you do is like you have a basket here. Okay. So there is a cart. So in that cart, you're going to add the items. How do you add the items? Do you add all the items at a time? You have to selectively go. You have to go to that particular section, or you have to search for that particular product, and you are going to pick that product and put it in the basket. Okay. So here we do the same thing in case of like creating the backlog. So backlog is prioritized list of tasks that needs to be completed. Okay. It's kind of like we have a list of things that we have to pick up during the shopping, right? So we are maintaining that list. So in the same way, we are going to maintain the list for the development. So here it will be like, kind of a priority that we are going to consider the priority based on like, customer requirements and the product owner. So how exactly this requirement fits into this particular area, and when do we complete this? All these things will be like, defined at this stage. Okay. So before creating like, backlog, these things will be considered. So plan the sprint. Plan the sprint is like, as you spoke about like sprint. So when we take the tracks, like, when the athletes has to complete some competition, there is a competition and you can see a track there, right? So it's kind of like a round track, 800 meters or 100 meters of track. So it's kind of like a sprint, what we call it as like a sprint. That same terminology that we are going to use in this development phase. Okay. So I mean like process in the agile process. So we are going to consider the sprint. Sprint is like a duration. Okay. So in this duration, we are going to see that how much time we are going to take to complete this particular item within the sprint. Okay. We have to plan the sprints, how many sprints we need, and how many people they have to work as part of the sprint, and what are the product backlog items that we are going to consider. Okay. So we need to give the priority for this. So next is like executing the sprint. This is kind of like, the activity that we are going to perform. This is like real-time execution. Okay. So now we got the items. So we have defined the project, we got the items, and we plan for the sprint, and then we are going to execute it. Execute is like implementing. Okay. So here the team works on completing the task plan for the sprint with the daily meetings to check progress and the address any issues. Like if you have any issues, then they are going to address. So this is kind of like, activities that we are going to perform as part of agile methodologies. So next is like review and demo. What we do here is like once the task is finished. So here we are going to give the demos within the team. Okay. Within the team would involve like, development, testing team, business analysts, and product owners. So these people may be involved. First is like they are going to look into this and they are going to give some feedbacks. After giving the feedback, then what we do is like we are going to go to the customer and we demo it. It's kind of like, process, review process and demo. So once we review it, like, whole team will review and say that, okay, these are the things that we have to implement as part of the feedback. And after that, we are going to demo it to the client. So client will understand if we have any feedbacks from the client, we have to implement that. So this is like review and demo. So next is like retrospective. As we spoke about the retrospective is like we are going to do some set of like, revision. Okay. We'll just take that particular sprint and they are going to revise it. What went well, and it's kind of like a meeting that we are going to conduct within this within the team, and we are going to understand. So here it is like what went well, what didn't, and what can be improved for the next sprint. Okay, so these are kind of the meetings that we are going to conduct. Repeat again, it's kind of like a process as we talked about like iterative. So here we are going to repeat the whole process again. We are taking the again. We are going to take the take the part of the items again, and then again we are going to repeat the same process. Okay. So it's kind of like again picking some. It's not only kind of like, if we consider something like if you are kind of if you have a business and if you have to perform that business on a daily basis, what it is like you are going to provide the services to the customer based on his requirements. It's kind of like you are going to, let us take a small example. We have a Blinkit, or we have kind of like, delivery systems. Then what it is like you are going to have some requirements, you are going to place those requirements and the boy would be delivering it. It's kind of like same thing will be applied as part of software. Customer is providing some set of requirements. We are designing, developing, testing and delivering it to the customer. So it's kind of like a repeat process every time. When we have some requirements, we take the same thing. Again, we are going to perform those development activities, testing activities, and deliver it to the customer. So continuously improving is like if you have to make any adjustments within the methodologies or the framework that we have taken, process improvement. It's kind of like process improvement. So adding some more tools, adding few more resources, adding skills, and adjusting, like, giving some kind of like trainings to the people. And it's kind of like, continuous improvement within the team as well as like process. So these are the things that we consider as part of Agile. So this, in this, okay. This is the Scrum framework. Okay, as we discussed, there are different frameworks. We have Kanban, we have Scrum, we have Lean, Extreme Programming, and we have some other like other processes that we have. And here we can see that we are picking the Scrum because Scrum is very much popular and very much familiar when we consider all other methodologies with the other methodologies. Okay, so next comes with the Kanban, but we'll talk more about the Scrum. Okay, so Scrum is a popular framework that enables teams to work together based on the agile principles. Scrum enables the development, delivery, and sustenance of the complex projects. So here, when we are talking about like project, process, and people, we have to consider the framework. This framework should fit in all of these things. Okay, project, people, and the process. Okay, so project is like we are going to get the requirements and we define the requirements. We plan how do we execute this particular requirements within the given period of time. That is nothing but a project. Okay, so it consider define, planning, creating, adding all the resources. People is like kind of a people that we should have within this project to complete that particular process, particular project within given period of time. So that is that will add like skill set. And process is like what that process has to be implemented as part of the project to complete within the given period of time, considering the people. So these are the terms that we have to consider whenever we are trying to pick up the frameworks from the Agile methodology. Okay, so this is the reason why. So it is very familiar in case of like delivering continuously and having the improvement or taking the feedback and implementing the feedbacks. So all these things will be considered very much. Very much. This all will be inlined as part of like Scrum framework. So that is the reason why we are picking the Scrum framework. Okay. So it enables teams to hypothesize how they think something works and make appropriate changes. Okay. So this has complete transparent working model. Okay. So everything is transparent. What are you working on and what do you have to do? What is done by you and what is planned? Everything is like very much transparent. So nothing is hidden. So if you are working on something, you have to discuss about it. Okay. It's not like, you work something and it's not working and again you come back with some other approach, again it's not working and you have some approach, and then you discuss like this is a problem, this will not work here. Okay, so if you are trying for the first attempt, you have to discuss about it. Okay, this is what I'm trying. I'm not sure like what are the outputs of it or consequences of it. I'm trying out something. So if it works, I'm going to deliver this. If it's not working, I'll tell you what are the hurdles. So these are the things. Okay, so it's not like nothing can be hidden in this Scrum model. So who are the members of Scrum team that we are going to discuss now? So product owner. So this person is like responsible of understanding the customer and client requirements, and here he's going to like prepare the product backlog. Okay. So product owner is an individual responsible for understanding what the customer, client, and determine the business values of this of those wants actually. Okay, what they are looking for. Here the product owner must be able to maximize ROI, return on investment. ROI is like return on investment. By determining the product features, listing it out, prioritizing it, what needs to be focused on for upcoming sprints, prioritizing it and making refinements. So what are the tasks? What are the tasks of product owner? We'll discuss in detail about it. Okay. So guys, I'm trying to connect the real-time environments. How does this exactly works in terms of real-time? I'll tell you. So here we have a customer. So this is like a is a customer. So this customer has got a set of requirements. Okay. He says like I have 100 items to be delivered. Delivered to me in this given period of time. Like let us take like 3 months of time. So he wants it to be released at particular period of time, and is like 100 items are there. Now he will be discussing all these details with the product owner. Okay, who we call as like person who is interacting with the business. Is a person. So this person would be interacting with this person and says like these are the requirements, some X, Y, and Z. Okay. So this person is like Williams. William is talking to some Rakesh who is there in India, and he's like owner. Okay, so he's like product owner. Who is product owner? He is a product owner. Okay, so his customer. This he is the customer. Okay, so now what are the responsibilities of this product owner? Is like now customer is like talking about like requirements. I have 100 requirements. This requirement should be completed in 3 months. Okay, so now product owner, as a product owner, now what Rakesh is doing is like Rakesh is completely looking into his 100 requirements and is trying to analyze each and every requirement. Okay, so we have this many requirements. Okay, in terms of what he's going to take, what he's going to consider in terms of like his minds would be working in this way. Okay, one is like feasible. Okay, as we talked in the SDLC, tangible. Okay, so feasible is like, are we able to complete these requirements within a given period of time? And tangible is like, is it benefit or not? To provide like, for each resource, I'm going to provide some $80 per hour. Okay. So this is what he has quoted. He's quoted. Okay. So $80 per hour. Let us consider 3 hours, 3 months. 3 months is like, yeah. Every month we have like 4 weeks. 4 weeks like we have 5 into 4, 20 days. Okay. 20 days, and we can consider 20 into 8 hours. Okay. 8 hours into the value is like $80. Okay. So $80. Now what is this? This is nothing but this is the quotation which is given for the person like senior resource. For every we have another person is like he's like project manager. For him, they are charging like $120 per hour. Okay. Now we consider what is this? This is nothing but a project budget. Now the project owner has to think about in terms of like feasibility and tangible, like whether we are able to complete this product within the given period of time. And based on this tangible, like requirements, like we have like 10 people. 10 people will not be working at the same level, right? So one is like can be a project manager, another one is like a scrum manager. Okay, scrum master, what we say. Another one is like we have dev team. So let us take like 3 devs are working, and we have 2 QAs, and then we have 2 business analysts. Okay. This is what the people like, these are the people, those are working on this particular project. Altogether, we have like 4, 3, and we have here we have 7 plus and 2, and the rest of the people like there can be a buffer like interns. Few people like freshers, they will be working on this project. Okay. So guys, this is like a representation of how do we get the requirements from the organizations, as well as like if you are a QA, they are looking for particular QA with the resource, like they should have a hybrid ability of working. That's nothing but they should be well in manual, in automation, and they should be in working as like they should have some experience in API testing, and then performance testing. So these are the requirements actually we get from the organizations, right? So how do we get this requirement? These are the demands of this project, particular project, and these demands are coming from the customer. Customer says that, I want some person like, who has like skill set within this manual automation API performance. So again, we can see that sometimes we have the customer interviews also. That's nothing but client interviews. Client would be again scrutinizing you. Scrutinizing is like he's going to take your time as like interviews, and they are going to ask you some questions, skill sets, specific skill sets. Okay. So these are nothing but client interviews. So generally, this will happen with every service-based companies, and most of the times we see this in product-based companies also. Okay, so it is like categorized, guys. See how this is getting implemented. Now we are discussing about in detail. Okay, so now you see this is like part of customer and product map. Product owner. Now product owner will be considering all this set of requirements, and he'll look into the budget, and he's going to see that how exactly this can be finished. So now it's like he's going to negotiate. Okay, he'll say that, no, Williams, this cannot be possible because we have 100 items and 3 months should be delivery time. So here we see that, we have resource crunch, and we would be looking from other resources, those who can work on this. So in this case, what Williams is that he has got some conditions. Okay, let's add few more days. Like he's going to give few more days, like, take out as like in 15 days as a buffer. Okay, now the estimation is moved from 3 months to 3 point, what is that? 3.5. That's nothing but 3.5 months. Okay. So again, he's going to negotiate on the items also. So Williams, this is like, few items are complex and we cannot complete them within the given period of time. So again, Williams says that, okay, what do you need exactly? So we are looking for few more days. And again, negotiation will be done on this. Okay. So after negotiation, now your product manager is like, our product owner is like ready with the items. Okay. Now he's going to discuss with the teams. Okay. So who are the next team members that we are going to see? Now you can see product owner must be able to minimize ROI by determining the product features, listing it out, prioritizing it, what needs to be focused. See, this is what we have discussed, right? So he's going to look into all of these aspects, feasible and tangible. Product owner takes decision required to complete the project and manages the product backlog. Okay. So now he's going to prepare this backlog. Like he has given, like Williams has given 100 items. Now as a product owner, he's going to derive those 100 items. From those 100 items, he's going to prioritize. Okay. First 50 items should be completed. So these are like priority for us within the given period of time, like 2 months. Within the 2 months, we have to complete. So after that, Scrum Master is kind of a person who is going to manage the board actually. Okay, Scrum board. We have a Scrum board. Now we got the product backlog. Okay, so product backlog is nothing but this happened between the customer and the product owner. So now product owner is going to discuss these things about whereabouts about this thing, like, when do we complete, or how are we planning this particular items to be completed. So all these things will be discussed by the product owner with the team. Now product owner communicated with the customer and he got the requirements, and he prioritized, like, these are the 50 product backlog items. Okay, PBI is what we say, product backlog items. Do you remember this term? Okay. So now product backlog items have been defined. Now the Scrum Master is like the person who is managing the board. Okay. Scrum Master manages the board. How this board typically look is like, this is a board. Okay. So let me take the example of Jira itself. I'll show you what is that board. Okay. So yesterday we have created the issue, but today what we are going to do is like we are going to create the PB items. Okay. So you can see what needs to be done. So this is nothing but in the month of, like, you can see we are here. Okay. So here we are going to create the epic. What are those epic? Login page, designing. Okay. So for month wise, we are creating. Let me just see. Okay. So login page. Under this login page, login UI, login DB. So what are the things now? So Epic is kind of like a parent. There's nothing but product backlog item. Within that product backlog item, we are going to create the items actually. Items are like tasks. Okay, these are the tasks that we are going to create as part of the Epic. Okay, Epic is like group of tasks. Okay, so task is like a specific task that we have to work in. Like under this login page designing, what we have is like UI design, we have a database design, and then we have like login validations. Okay, so this is not an Epic actually. I'll be deleting this one. I'll just push it to. Let me delete this one. I'll copy this and I'll delete this. Delete. So again, here I'm going to add a new one. Need to close this one actually. Okay, so here login validations. Then afterwards, unit testing we can create under this. You can go here. Now login is like login UI. This is the task that we have created. Okay, this is a task that we have created. Under this, what we have is like you can see all the tasks that we have created and log the details that we have here. Okay, so here in this case, under this, if you want to create any new item. Okay, so if you want to create a new item or if you want to change it, you can change it. But here in the description, we are going to say that what are you exactly working on it. Okay. So here, after this, again, I'm going to add one more task. We don't have option here to add the task under the same task. Okay. So here, what I'm going to create, I'm going to create the unit test task. So these are, you can see this. How do we define now? This is a product backlog item. Under this product backlog item, I'm just adding this task here. Okay. So each and every task is like a specific thing that we have to perform as part of like feature. Okay. So UI is like we are designing the UI page. DB details is like required database tables are being created, and validations. What are this login validations? Like how do we exactly check for this username, password, size, length, and this table attached to it. What are the queries that we have to frame to get the details from the database table? So all these things will be done in login validation. Unit testing is like it's kind of a component testing that we are going to do as part of development. Okay. So likewise, we are going to create number of tasks under this Epic store. This is nothing but product backlog. Likewise, we have number of product backlog defined here. Okay. So here we are going to have the product backlog. Okay. So these are like 100 product backlog. So from this, what we are going to do is like we are going to pick the sprint backlog items. Like we are going to take from 10 items out of this 100. So from this product backlog items, again, we are going to create user stories. Where do we have this stories created? The stories will be created as part of the Jira that we have looked in, right? Under this, we are going to create the task. Okay. After the task, if we have anything like if we have some bugs, dev task, so dev related or any kind of child items. So we can say that child items will be created. So this we call as like, let me just create as like child items. So it can be bugs or code changes or something. Okay. Now you see, we have a product backlog item. So from this product backlog item, we are picking up this priority. So based on the sprint, okay, sprint, what is the sprint duration? We are talking about like 2 to 4 weeks. Okay, sprint duration. So in this sprint duration, we are planning to complete this 10 items. So that's nothing but 2 to 4 weeks. We are going to complete this 10 items. How do you do it? We are going to create the user stories. So 10 user stories will be created. That's nothing but we are here. We are going to create like this. Okay. So when we go to this board, now you can see these are the items which are created. Okay. So here you can see these are the items. So based on this, this item is like assigned to the development team. So here we are going to create some other lanes like dev team, QA team, likewise we are going to create. Okay. So this for the sample I have created the status, but this will not be the status that we are going to consider as part of like bug. What we do is like under the item, we are going to have this status defined. Okay. So this is the board for QA. Let us take like we have multiple boards that we are going to create. So here we have projects, second test 1 to 3. So under this, I am going to create another project here. I'm selecting the Scrum board. Here I'll say that orange HRM. So it's creating a project now. So under this board, you can see there are like backlog items and we have like board also. Okay. So backlog is like it's going to show up all these things in the form of like grid. In board, it's going to show up like as a tiles. Okay. So here get started. We are going to go back to this. So here you can see again we have different status defined. Okay. So now I'm going to say that EBIs dev QA dev I can add the people because team will have multiple people, right? So we are going to add the people here. So if I go to the backlog here, I'll be creating. So here you can see there are like task, bug, and this is nothing but this is the story, user story. Okay. So what is that user story that I'm going to create? Login design. Need to click on the center, otherwise it will not accept. So under this design, you can create issues, or you can create here. You see it's showing up like issues. Okay. So it can be a task that you want to create. So what is the task that you want to create? Login UI. Login DB details. Login validate. Test. Okay. So now you see when we have this, I'll go to the board. Unassign or subtask, everything. So it should be listed here. I've created the issue. We've added it, start sprint. See, sprint 1 is like, I'm just planning the sprint now. So this all things will be done by the Scrum Master. Okay, Scrum Master will be creating all these things. So now you see durations will be given like, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or that. Okay, so it's all depends on like start date, time date, and goal is like complete 10 items defined in the sprint. Okay, so this is what we are going to, when we click on start, go to the board. Now you see how these things are arranged. Now what we do is like design, login design. Login design is assigned to some person. Login UI is assigned to some person. Details are assigned to some person. This is nothing but during the planning meeting, we are going to discuss everything about it. Who is going to work on this? Okay. So for example, this is the item that I picked it. So here it will be assigned. Okay, assigned to me. For example, this is assigned to me. So I'm just going to close it. Okay, so now you can see this is assigned to this particular person. Okay, after completing this, what I'm going to do as part of Scrum Master will be in a daily meetings, he's going to discuss about it. Okay, so now what he does is like in the daily meeting in the startup, okay, he says like, good evening or good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Then he's going to start up with, okay, let's look into the board. So once he looks into the board, he'll look into this, okay, dev tasks, dev issues, there are 3 issues. What is okay? He'll pick up my name, okay, because what is happening on this. So I'm going to discuss about this, login details. I made some changes. Tomorrow I'm going to push this code to the code to this particular branch, and this will be available for testing tomorrow to the QA team. So this is done. This is nothing but I'm giving the status. So what I've done on this, so what Scrum Master is going to do is like he's going to go through all the board. He's going to verify what is happening on this item, what is happening on this item, what is happening on this item. If something is stuck, like for example, UI. So UI, he says like, I'm not able to work on this so and so, and I see that there are some errors. So he'll ask about like, when do you want to complete this? What is the time period that you are looking for? Do you want anybody else to help you on this? So all these things, nothing but he's going to manage the board. Okay, manage the board. So in this board, he's going to talk about the, the person who is working on this item will be talking about like, what are the hurdles that is facing, and Scrum Master will be managing all this board and is going to give some time. Okay, now initially this person has given some time like to complete this particular item within a given period of time. Like let's take, I assign this to me, and now in this case I'm going to provide, see, there's some information. Okay, so let me just give this fields and all. So so here in, okay, description, there is another thing. Okay, don't worry all these things, guys. So this is kind of like, tool actually. In case of Jira, you see something, some other things. In case of Azure DevOps, you'll see this different things. Okay, let me go back, and I don't want to confuse you on this tool. I'm going to this particular item. I'll open this. I should have some time period defined here. Okay, story point estimation. Yes, sir. So here I'll say that I need 5 hours of time to complete this. Okay, so 5 hours of time to complete this. But now what is happening is like we looked into the chart and we found that this guy is taking more time. Now I'm going to ask like as a Scrum Master, I'm going to ask like how much time do you need? So there it says like I need 2 more hours for this to complete this. I'm going to move from 5 to 7. Okay, here I'm giving like 2 more hours more time, like in fact more time, 2 more hours to that particular person to complete this item. Okay, now I'm just done with this. So here he's going to add some description, and he says that this is the problem that we are facing. If you have any comments, that we can add the comments here, and you can see the history also, who has created this item, what is that. See what is happening now, from none to 5, 5 to 7. This is nothing but estimation is more, story point estimation is more. Okay, so I'm closing this now. So now you can see the time period that he has taken is like 5 hours earlier. Now it is moved to 7 hours. Okay, that's nothing but 7 story points. That is estimation is moved from 5 to 7. So this, who will be doing all these things? This will be done by the Scrum Master. Okay. So now I'll go back to this. Now you can see the Scrum Master helps team learn and apply the concept of Scrum to obtain the business value. The Scrum Master makes sure the team is accountable for the achieving the organization's goals and removing impediments that may decrease the team productivity. Okay. So if there are some hurdles, then he's going to discuss about it. He says that, why it is taking this much time. Do you need any help, or what is that you exactly looking for? Do you need to have any communication gaps with the team or clients? Do you need anything from the product? So everything will be discussed by the Scrum Master. Okay. So this is nothing but see, also help the team adopt the Scrum methodologies. They are also responsible for organizing the critical Scrum events and meetings. So he will be responsible for handling the Scrum boards, meetings. Everything will be carried out by the Scrum Master. Are you clear with this, guys? So what we are talking about?
Yes,
okay, yeah. The Scrum team is collection of individuals that works together to deliver the requirements of the stakeholders and clients. Okay, so here we can call like product owner, Scrum Master, dev team, QA team, database team, and all these teams are called as like Scrum team. Okay, so this Scrum team will be responsible of delivering the product or project to the client. So Scrum artifacts are the main components of the Scrum process. These artifacts enables you to improve transparency and team's understanding of the work that are doing the artifacts that we are going to discuss about it. Okay, so whatever we already discussed about the artifact, but in detail we are going to discuss about what is product backlog, what is sprint backlog. So everything we will be discussing. Yes, just give me a second, guys. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Yeah, guys, I'm back. Sorry for that. We'll see now. Okay, product backlog consists of a list of new features, the changes made to existing features. Okay, bug fixes, changes to the infrastructure, and other artifacts. So this is like kind of a feature requirements that we are getting from the customer. Okay, so sometimes we call it as like product backlog items. We can call it as like a fixes. We can call it as like bug retesting. Okay, so I mean if something bug is not fixed properly, okay, in retesting we found that this is not working as expected, then we are going to create it as like an item. Okay, and after that we see that if any changes, infrastructure changes, so mostly we'll see that all the things as the requirement to complete to achieve a particular goal will be considered as like a product backlog. Okay, so next we have a sprint backlog item. So as we discussed, like sprint backlog item is like a the chunk of the product backlog item. Chunk in the sense the 100 requirement that we got from the customer. Within that 100, we cannot complete everything within a given period of time, right? Like, okay, I mean, they say that 2 weeks of time we cannot complete 100 items. What it is like, we are going to chop down the pieces. Like we are going to make it as like a small components. That those components are like kind of a small requirements. We are going to put it from the product backlog. So we take it from the product backlog and we are going to consider them as a sprint backlog. Here you can see a sprint refers to a duration which the team completes a particular task that we have discussed, right? 2 to 4 weeks are like kind of a sprint that we are going to call it as. Okay. So with sprint, team can provide workable outputs as like end to end of each sprint. Like at the end of this, we can see that we have completed something and we are going to show it to the customer. So that's nothing but end to end working process. So here it's like usually it will take 1 to 4 weeks long, and it's all depends on your team size and the requirements that you are picking up. So you can define it from 1 to 4 weeks. And the thing is like the sprint backlog is a subset of the product backlog that contains tasks that teams aim to complete to satisfy the goal that we are decided based on the negotiation. So this is nothing but we are talking about the backlog items, right? Product backlog is like a huge one. Sprint backlog is like a small piece of it that we are going to take it and we are going to define it as like, these are the items that we are going to complete within the given period of time, 2 to 4 weeks of time. So product increment is a collection of all the product backlog items, tasks completed as part of sprint and the value of the increment of each of earlier sprint. That's the thing, but see, we talked about product backlog, we talked about sprint backlogs. So product backlog has 100 items, sprint backlog is like 10 items. Okay, 10 items in first sprint, 10 items in second sprint. Like this, we'll be creating 10 sprints. Within that 10 sprints, we are going to complete this 100 items. So this is nothing but product going to append it. Append in the sense we are going to attach those 10 plus 10, 20, 20 plus 10, 30. Likewise, we are going to increment each and every sprint. So that's nothing but it says like product increment. Okay. On a daily basis, we are working on something and we are going to combine this work with the earlier day. Okay, it's kind of like we are going to have the chain model. Within this chain model, we are going to complement and we are going to complete and we are going to increment the product. Okay, on daily basis, we'll see some or the other output that we are going to see. what is it? How this Scrum framework would look is like, you can see this is product backlog item, and this is like a continuous process. This is not only the thing that we do, okay, on a daily basis. We are going to do it like, product manager, product owner. Product owner will be looking after this product backlog, and he'll be like, refining this. What we say is like, we use a term called product refinement. Okay, product backlog refinement. So in this product backlog refinement, he's going to pick some items and he's going to add some items, like, adding, deleting, or adjusting those items, moving from priority, like will be adjusting based on the priorities. So sprint planning is like, we are going to pick up few items from the product and we are going to consider that as like, sprint backlog. Okay, so in sprint planning, we are going to do it. Okay, sprint planning is like kind of a meeting that will be conducted as part of the team. So in the team, we are going to pick some items from the product backlog and we are going to place them as like a sprint backlog, 100 to 10. So which 10 items that we have to pick will be decided in the sprint planning. So after sprint backlog is prepared, now it is like time to the team to pick up the items. Okay, so some items will be assigned. That's nothing but in sprint planning, we are going to do the particular item will be assigned. Okay, so Suresh, you take the first this item login, and for example, Ramesh should be taking some database, and Srikanth would be working on QA, and like the other person is like Mahesh is working on QA scripts, like automating the scripts and all designing. So all these things will be done as part of like a sprint sprint planning. Sprint planning, everything will be assigned. Now Scrum meeting is like a daily stand-up. Daily stand-up is like it will last for 15 minutes. Okay, so only is like what we have to do is like what I am doing, what I have done so far, and what I will be doing tomorrow. So these are the three things that will be considered as part of like stand-up meetings. So here you can see this is daily Scrum. What we say is like daily Scrum or stand-up meetings. We can say this will be within the Scrum team. Who will be involved in this into this product owner and client would be like optional, but who are mandatory? Scrum team members are mandatory, like Scrum Master, development team, testing team, and the business analyst. Okay, so there are like mandatory people. They have to get involved into this daily Scrum meetings. And after this, what we do is like after this Scrum, so 2 to 4 weeks we have it already. Okay, so during this period, what we do is like we are going to do this sprint reviews. Sprint reviews, we are going to see that what we have done so far, like are we comfortable with the plan, and are we executing the plan accordingly? Everything will be done in these reviews. Okay, sprint review will be done. So if you have to do something, or do some set of adjustments or change the plan, here it will be done in the sprint reviews. So that is nothing but increment. Here you see now it is like next part of it. Next part of it is like we are going to add like 10 items are done. See, once the sprint planning is like, no, everything is done. The sprint cycle is done. Again, we are going to pull out few more items. That's like 10 more items. All 20 items are done. So likewise, we will be keep on incrementing. In sprint reviews, we are going to check for the planning, items completed. We are going to do the reviews and then we demo it to the customer. Okay, all these things will be done as part of the sprint review. After everything is done, we are going to push it to the increment. That's nothing but we are adding few more components to it. So after sprint review is done, so this is like final sprint retrospective. Okay, sprint retrospective is like a kind of a meeting that will be done within the team to discuss about the good things, bad things which are happened within the cycle. Okay, if you have to make any adjustments, that can be that what are those adjustments that we have to implement as part of process, project, or skills, that everything will be discussed here. Again, this will be taken as like an input for the next cycle. Okay, so during the sprint planning, we are going to consider this retrospective. Okay, so for example, the person who is not working, let us take like good things. We'll talk about good things. Okay, for example, if the person is working as expected and he's like lot of load he has taken in the previous sprint because of inability in giving the estimations. Now what we do is like here we are going to help him out in understanding the estimations. That is nothing but during the sprint plan we'll say that, okay Mahesh, now you don't take this much of load. Last time we did the same thing. So what you can do is like first you take 2 items, then after that you can take 2 more items. Likewise, you can keep on incrementing by yourself. So these are the things that have been discussed in the sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective is like it's an open feedback. Okay, so it's an open feedback to given at the team level. Okay, so here we'll be discussing about it. Those things will be considered as part of like a feedback for the sprint plan. Okay, so sprint retrospective is nothing but it's kind of like a revision of this particular cycle. Okay, so I'll repeat it again. We have a product backlog. So this is nothing but product backlog items you can see. So during this sprint planning, we are going to pick up what are the items which are priority that we have to complete as part of sprint. So that will be taken as like a sprint backlog. So this here, in the sprint backlog, we have the items which we have to complete as part of the sprint. Sprint will be lasting for 2 to 4 weeks. Okay, so it's all depends on us. So now after this, during the sprint planning, we are going to assign these items to the team. So the team will be working on this particular items in the given period of time. So in a daily basis, we are going to talk about the items that we are working on, and what are we going to do for completing this work. So this is kind of like a generic stuff that we are going to have during the stand-up meeting. Okay, so it's kind of like, do we have any hurdles? Where are we exactly, and what are we going to do today, and what is my task for tomorrow? Okay, so these are the things that we discuss as part of daily scrum meeting. So after this scrum is done, so during this sprint review, we are going to give the demos or do the adjustments as per the demos, or take the feedbacks, and those feedbacks will be adjusted as per the requirements. So after this, what we do is like, we'll push it to the increment. That's nothing but we are just pushing the code, and this is nothing but outcome. Okay, increment is like outcome of this particular sprint. So outcome will be like, incremented. 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2, 1 plus 3, likewise, it will be incremented. So now you can see after this, everything is done, then we are going to do the sprint retrospective. So sprint retrospective is kind of like a revision of this particular cycle. So here we'll discuss what went well, what did not go well, and what are the things that we have to consider as part of sprint planning. Everything will be discussed in the sprint retrospective. Okay. So after this, we have this process and all. So everything is like briefly defined here. Sprint backlog, what happened? Sprint planning, what happened? Sprint backlog, what we are going to do. Sorry, this is product backlog. Product backlog, sprint planning, sprint backlog. So this we already discussed as part of framework, right? So we have description about it. So Scrum team, who are the Scrum team? What happens in the daily Scrum meetings? What happens in the sprint reviews? So here you can see after sprint is completed, review takes place involving the team Scrum and getting the feedback. See, this is what we have discussed, right? During the meeting, questions are asked, observations are made, feedbacks or suggestions are given. Also given. Take it forward. Yeah. So Scrum board is like that we have discussed the Scrum board. Right? Scrum board is a physically virtual tool that helps the team visualize items that are part of the sprint backlog. So we looked into the board, right? So we can see that to do, in progress and done. So board is divided into slots like to do, in progress and done. When the new items, new sprints are started, the board is reset and new board is created. So that's what we have did it here, right? You can see to do, in process or QA. So we can define based on our requirements. Okay. So it's like item that is like in to-do list. So it is assigned. This is nothing but Dev is working on in progress. And done is like QA is retesting. So when we say that this is done, we can just create another lane also. We call them as like a lane. This is nothing but a board. Okay, this is nothing but Scrum board. So we'll be managing this Scrum board, Scrum Master. Who has to work on these items? Team members. Who will be giving these product backlog items as a Scrum backlog items? This will be done during the sprint planning meeting, and the sprint planning meeting will be involving the product owner, Scrum Master, and the whole team. So all these things will be done as part of like a Scrum film. Okay. Yeah, hopefully I think go through this video, guys. This is very important, and this is generic process that they are going to ask you during the interviews. So mostly you'll hear the terms called Scrum process, who is product owner, what is product backlog, what is sprint backlog, who is Scrum Master, who are stakeholders, who are customers, who are team members, what is what is like ceremonies that we are doing. Ceremony is like one other thing. It is very important to understand. So what are the different ceremonies that we have as part of Scrum process is like you have to explain this. Okay. So we have sprint planning ceremony, and then we have like sprint backlog grooming ceremony, and then we have like retrospective is like one ceremony, sprint review like ceremonies. So these are kind of like ceremonies what we say. Okay. So retrospective ceremony, these are ceremonies like celebrations kind of thing that we do as part of Scrum process. Okay. So this will keep you motivated. When they talk about like ceremonies, what are the ceremonies? In general, they are going to ask you what are the ceremonies, Scrum ceremonies that we have that you follow as part of your development. Okay. So this all things will be asked during the interviews, guys. They are going to specifically ask you about like what is your role in the sprint planning, and what is your role in the daily scrum meetings? What do you do in the daily scrum meetings? So did you give any demo? And what do you discuss in the retrospective meeting? And do you have any chance to look into the product backlog item? So these are the questions generally they are going to ask you. So most of the times as a team member, we'll be involved in sprint planning and assigning, like, getting the assignment of the sprint items in the sprint backlog meeting. And after that, daily task stand-ups will be involved into it. And reviews also, if you are giving an demo, we'll be in reviews. And then it's like we'll be there in the retrospective also. Okay, retrospective meeting also. So, but who will be looking at this product backlog item? So, product backlog item will be looked by the product owner. Who will be managing the board? Scrum master. Who will be working on the items? Team members will be working on the items. Okay, so these are the things that we have to focus, and most of the interview questions will be asked in this Scrum framework. And what are the ceremonies? We have to remember the ceremonies. Okay, so do you have any questions, guys?
Sir, today is my first class.
Okay, yeah.
So have you given any notes?
We have presentations for this. So it's like clearly documented. Everything is documented, and videos also available. You can connect with the admin team and you'll get the access for those videos once you enroll for this course.
The video access I've got, notes I want.
Yeah, notes you have everything as like PPTs, which is clearly documented. So I'm going to share these notes. I'll be uploading them in portal, so you can get from them.
Till now, anything is uploaded, sir? No.
No, nothing. Because I am just looking for the credentials. I lost the credentials. I'm just trying to recall those credentials. I'll be uploading everything, every document that whatever we have discussed as part of video will be available there.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for you. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you please once again tell about the product backlog in short? Once again.
So product backlog is kind of like a client requirements. Okay, so we are getting the client requirements that will be considered like a product backlog.
Okay.
Yeah. It's simple. You can relate with the shopping cart. For example, you got a list of items, right? So you have to purchase 50 items. What you do is like you go to the shop. Let us like you have a big shopping mall or something. There you go, and what you do is like you have a list of items, because there are a lot of items which are there in the shopping mall. But we have some list of items which are priority items that you have to purchase. So what you do is like you maintain a list. Out of this list, what you do, you are going to go through the shop and you are going to pick up the items from the off the shelf. That's nothing but you are going to pick up the items, you are going to store it into the cart. So that is nothing but product backlog. So it's kind of like a product backlog. But when you come to home, how do you use it? So you will be using all of the items at a time. No, you'll not be using that, right? So what you do is like for this month, you'll be having some set of items that you have to use. Okay, let us consider that you have purchased 20 soaps. 20 soaps will not be used within a month, right? So what you do is like first you start using first 2 soaps, then after you're going to add few more. Like once you consume, then you're going to pick up the new items. Likewise, it's like a sprint backlog item. So we have list of items we are getting from the customer. From there, we are going to again, check which are the priority items that we have to complete as part of the sprint. We'll take these items, we'll complete that. Again, we are going to go back to the sprint backlog. Again, we'll pick few more items. Likewise, it will be a continuous cycle until we complete all the items from the product backlog.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys, if you don't have any questions, I'll just stop the share. So with this, we have completed our manual testing. So I'll be uploading all those documents along with the test plan, test case template, test scenario template also. Please practice on that, and if come back to me if you have any doubts on this.